You're listening to Real Facts on Real Estate with Sean Patrick Maloney.
That sounds good.
Welcome to episode 13, Your Circle of Influence in Real Estate. I'm your host, Sean Patrick Maloney. Thanks for joining us this week. We're going to talk about the circle of influence, or sometimes called the sphere of influence. And having my Boston accent saying the word sphere is a little bit difficult, so I apologize. So the circle of influence is one of the most powerful things that you have in real estate. These are people that you know that would be able to say, hey, I know that guy or girl, and be able to know information about you, know maybe your birthday, things like that. Somebody that's actually really familiar with you or has worked with you in the past. So the circle of influence or sphere of influence is comprised of friends, family, old schoolmates, college mates, co-workers, acquaintances, past and present clients, people at restaurants you might eat at often, other things like that. So it's a whole mix of people, again, that would know you and be like, oh, that's Sean over there. I know him from XYZ. And they really actually feel like they have contact with you. These people are great when it comes to business because they know you, and with knowing somebody, that becomes an inherent trust. And trust is one of the most important things as a salesperson. As we all know, there's no better deal than a referral deal, because when you get a referral deal, the person trusts you because their friend or family or coworker or whoever ended up telling them that they should trust them. So thinking about a referral, the power behind a referral is really the circle of influence or the sphere of influence, because a referral is saying that I trust you because my friend or my family member, otherwise known as my circle of influence, told me that you were safe. So that's why growing your own circle of influence is really, really important. There's some pretty cool numbers behind all this. The average person knows about 150 people, and they're within their circle of influence. And if you take that 150 and you just go out one more length, so if you know 150 and you're 150 know 150, that's 22,500 people available within one or two conversations, because we all know other people who are looking for things. Quite commonly, I'll hear agents say, nobody I know is looking to buy or sell. It makes no sense to bother my family members. It makes no sense to talk to my schoolmates. I hear this all the time. I can't tell you how many agents tell me that. Like, why would I bother talking to my family? They don't even own homes. They are all renters. It doesn't matter. They know 150 other people. And if you think that they're not hearing throughout their day and throughout their travels about people that want to buy real estate, I guarantee you're wrong. If there's one thing we love to do, it's tell other people about things that will work out well for them. And we love, love, love to tell people something that we think we have that they'll want. That's why when you go out to dinner, you post things on social media, pictures of food, you tell people, oh, great restaurant here. You get your hair cut, you might tell people, oh, this person cuts the best hair, you need to go use them. At the end of the day, it's all social currency, and social currency is something we all love. We love to seem important. That's why we like when people click on our posts. Oh, they like this, they like that, or they, even better, they made a comment on my post, which is just all showing you how powerful really the circle of influence is and the sphere of influence is. We all value it enormously, and unfortunately, a lot of agents get into that mindset of, oh, my circle of influence or sphere of influence is weak. Well, what I challenge you to do is sit down and actually write them all down. Get them all into one spot. Most commonly, the best way to do it is in your CRM, your customer relationship management software. But as a start, just start jotting them all down. As you drive around town, as you go around places, start writing down everybody's names that would know you. Who is your circle of influence? I listen to Anthony Lamacchia often. He did a talk about this, and he was talking about when he set his up, he used to just drive around town aimlessly on Saturdays and Sundays and think, oh yeah, that's my haircut guy, or my dentist, or that's my other person for this. And I thought that was a great idea, because a lot of agents, really, they sit down, they write down their friends and family, and they're like, I'm done. I have about 45 or 50 people, and I'm completely done. But, my challenge and his challenge always was, go back and think, where did I go to college? Who did I know at college? Did I connect well with any professors? Did I connect well with any other schoolmates? Did I connect well with maybe a teacher's aide? Or when I was at work at that last career that I was at, who was it that I would always talk with at lunch, and who would I sit with at lunch? Or, when I go to that restaurant, who's the waitress that I'm always looking to sit at its table? Who's that bartender that I like to grab drinks from? All these different sources, these are all people in your circle of influence. And the one really cool part about working a circle of influence or sphere of influence is the fact that you're going to create better relationships with people you already love and appreciate. So one of the things that's kind of looked at wrong on this is that, geez, I don't want to be marketing to my friends and family all the time. Well, you're not marketing to them at all. What you're really doing is trying to create better relationships with them. And ultimately, this is a good point in life to create better relationships, because think back to those old schoolmates or work people or acquaintances, and think back to the fact that you don't talk to them anymore except for when you need them. Wouldn't it be much better off if you spent time talking to them more often, if you spent time reaching out to them and actually just call and see how they're doing? Find out what they've been up to, where are they working now, do they have any children? All these important things are going to build a better relationship with them, but then also while you're talking with them, just at random points throughout the conversation, not all the time during the conversation, but at points where you get the opportunity, like when they ask what you're doing now. Oh, it's funny you ask. I'm actually in real estate nowadays. I'm glad you asked me that. It's been really good. We've been selling a lot of homes and love to help any of your friends and family if you have anybody. It's not like you got to beat a dead horse and continue to remind them on this stuff every single time you talk, but you do want to make mention of, hey, I got to run here, I'm headed out to do a showing, or different things like that just inject a tiny bit of real estate and remind them that when they hear the word real estate, they should think of your name. Different types of people throughout this circle of influence take different amounts of contact points. When you're setting them up, I highly recommend to categorize your different contacts based on who they are. Most CRM softwares, or if you're doing it on a Excel spreadsheet or anything like that, you're able to group them together. So some of the groupings that I use are friends, family, school, work, acquaintances, past and present clients. Reason for this is if you're using a good CRM, you're going to be able to use some automation to help you out with this. You're also going to be able to schedule events and schedule contact points so that you can reach back out to them as you say fit. So for friends and family, I usually use about 8 to 12 contacts a year. Past schoolmates, 6. Coworkers, 6 to 8. Acquaintances 6+, and then past and present clients 6 to 8 times, and that's an annual basis. One of the best things to get into the habit of is when you hit your last contact, meaning you've already pre-set up all these contacts. When you hit the last contact point that you have set for that contact, then go in and set up the next year. So what this means is as you add a contact, you should schedule those 8 to 12 events, or you should schedule those 6 events, whatever amount of events per person. You want to pre-schedule them for a year. And what you can do is if you put in 1 to 10 contacts a day into your contact database, then you can go back and set them up one at a time as you put them in. So you do 10 a day maybe, you put in a year worth, and then if you do that for a couple weeks, so you get about 15 days later if you did 10, or 150 days later if you did 1 a day, you can then in the future, when they expire, you'll only have to reset up 1 to 10 of them a day. So think about a manageable number for yourself. 5 a day wouldn't be a terrible thing. That way there in about 30 days you had the whole entire system set up of 150. You may have a larger one than that. No problem. Definitely add as many as you can come up with. And also don't be afraid to flush certain ones out. If it's not working out, you're just trying to add them, then don't be afraid to just say, you know what, let's not add that one. But again, don't be afraid of old relationships that you haven't rekindled. Feel free to get out there and rekindle them and add them as a contact. And if it doesn't work out, then you can remove them. But when you go in and you set these up, so our CRM system here at Movementum Realty, we have a couple different options. We have task management, we have calendar events, we have scheduled phone calls, as well as we can schedule future points of like a hold date where it'll remind us to get back to the person at that point. So what I would suggest doing is thinking about when you set up each person, having kind of a schedule. There's different events that you can reach out to people, such as holidays, birthdays, the house purchase anniversary. You can reach out to them because they got a new pet. Maybe you saw online that they lost a pet. You could also have the loss of a loved one, a wedding, an anniversary. And so there's so many different times we can reach out to somebody. And it also can just be a hello. And there's nothing wrong with just a simple hello. But I would definitely suggest certain holidays and birthdays, definitely add those in, as well as the wedding anniversary. And if they are a past or current client, adding in when they purchased or sold their home as an anniversary date is never a bad idea. As you're building up these contacts, make sure that on your circle of influence, you're putting in all the information about the person. What are their kids' names? What are their birthdays? When did they buy a dog? When did they get a new home? All of these different things are really going to come to use as you continue to grow your real estate. As you continue to grow your real estate, eventually you're going to end up with team members. And one of the things is when we get bigger, a sphere of influence or circle of influence ends up kind of feeling offended because we forget about them as we get big, or we get a new assistant that doesn't know when someone's birthday is, and they're used to getting a birthday card from you and it suddenly falls off. So that's why it's really important to use the CRM to its fullest capacity with putting in notes about every client, things that our coworkers or our teammates should know about, because if we don't do that, what's going to happen is as you grow the team, things are going to fall through the cracks. So make sure you put those different things in. So some of the different things that we can do are phone calls, texts, emails, gifts, regular mailers, lunches. So when you work in your circle of influence, you really kind of want to scatter it all throughout all the different ones. So with friends, family, old schoolmates, coworkers, acquaintances, past clients, you get the whole grouping of different people. Each one's going to have something different that's appropriate to them, but all of them should be getting some pieces of mail from you. All of them should be invited to some events every year. All of them should be definitely getting texts, email, and phone calls. And then when you really dial in, who are the power players? Who are the ones that are getting you the referrals? Who are the people that you should most likely spend time with? And that's when you want to get into the lunches or the gifts. A lot of people are spending a lot of money on marketing every day. They're sending it out to hopefully get a future client, but they forget that their circle of influence deserves gifts, that their circle of influence, would you rather spend $30 to go to lunch with somebody and actually, rekindle a relationship with a friend or family member, or would you rather spend $30 on a random ad to run in a newspaper to hope to meet somebody? I'm going to tell you your likelihood of meeting somebody out of the newspaper versus your likelihood of meeting somebody based on that lunch you had with a friend or family member or a past schoolmate or coworker is going to be far more successful, and it's going to lead to far more referrals. Recently, I was listening to another podcast by another individual who writes about real estate often, and he was talking about a 30% increase in business by properly working your 150 people on your circle of influence. Now, I completely believe that because I can tell you, once you start working these people, once you start working with them, you're building those relationships, they're going to start sending you the referrals. And make sure when you do get referrals from people that you use the method of making them a superstar. Let people know that they give you a referral. Feel free, if they say so, to publicize them. Put them on the Instagram, put them on the Facebook. Make them a local celebrity. Make them know that what they did for you is what you're looking for out of people. You don't have to say it directly. You just need to show, hey, I just got a great review or referral from my friend XYZ. When you do that, that's going to tell other friends and family, geez, I should send him a referral because he helped out their friend really great, and I'd love to have my friends have great services just like that. So when you're thinking about it, you really want to basically work these relationships so that you grow your business, so that you grow your life, so that you're living a better life. I want to stop for a second and talk about one thing that comes up all the time. So as I teach people about this, they say, hey, well, Sean, that's great, but I really don't want to be annoying to my friends and family. And that sounds like quite an annoying thing. Well, if you're thinking about it that way, you probably have a bad plan. Your plan is to just call people and say, hey, give me deals. You got to work this much more in a relationship type matter. And you also have to think about your own self-value, worth, and importance to them. So one of the things I'm going to tell you is when you call people, you send them a text or an email and stuff, you're not that important to them. You're actually more important to yourself than you are to them. And yeah, of course, your mom and dad are going to remember when you called, but a lot of these people aren't going to remember that you called them 2 months ago, especially when these ones like where we're saying only 6 to 8 contact points. Everybody's life is so busy that they're not going to look back and go, geez, here comes that guy Sean again. I can't believe he's calling me again. Especially not if I'm doing it correctly. If I'm calling them and saying happy birthday. How many people have called you to say happy birthday and you're like, geez, I wish that guy didn't call me or that woman didn't call me? None. And to tell you the truth, most people are wasting their time writing HBD on somebody's Facebook wall as if they can't do more than 3 characters for your birthday. How much more present do you seem? How much more into the relationship do you seem if you're the person who sent a birthday card in the mail and gave a follow-up call 2 days after? That's going to come off as the person who actually cares versus the person who's on Facebook that takes the 3 seconds to type HBD and then doesn't even reply back to the comment that replied back to them. One of the things you want to realize on circle of influence and sphere of influence is you want to be the contextual genius. You want to be the person that is always there, that's always reminding them of, hey, you remember when you got that new dog last year? How's it doing? I see all the pictures online. It looks so cute. It looks like you guys are having a lot of fun together. Contacts like that are going to open new doors and new horizons to your business that you can't even imagine. Let's get into talking about events. Events is something that most people don't utilize enough. They're worried about the expense again. If you can get out there and you can get anywhere between 10 and 50 people out of your circle of influence to show up to an event, then you had a success. And chances are, shortly thereafter, you're going to find referrals or you're going to find something to do with your business growing based on that event. Different events that I've seen people do. Right now, I've seen people do shred drives where they shred things for you. You can rent a giant dumpster and store it somewhere and invite people to come by and discard a big item. You can do things where you invite people by a bar or restaurant for a sporting game, and you have food and you have drinks with them. You might just have a cocktail hour. You might have a first-time home buyer course. There's a lot of reasons you can have events, or you might just have an event because it's just a party. Another event that I love the idea of that I've seen agents do is with past or present clients. It's a closing party where they come back after the person buys a new house and they throw a cookout for them, for their friends and family. What better way to meet somebody else's circle of influence than to go buy a bunch of burgers, dogs, a couple beers, and get out there and cook on their back porch for them while they party, while they enjoy. And yes, I said cook for them. Best place to be is to be the chef at the grill, because guess what? Everybody's going to come meet you. They're all going to come over and they're going to realize, oh, who are you? I'm not familiar with you. Oh, I'm the person who helped them buy this house. Guess what? You got to introduce yourself as the real estate agent to everybody because you stood in the way of the most important thing, the beer and the food. So make sure that you think about things like that and get involved. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there. And again, you can write all these things off on your taxes. These are all marketing. So when you have this party, make sure you keep all the receipts. This is part of marketing. One thing I think most agents forget about is that you run your own company. You don't just run under a business, you run a business within a business. You're all subcontractors that work for a brokerage. So when you're doing this, don't forget to do your write-offs. Don't forget to check in with your accountant on what's allowed and what isn't allowed. But make sure that you maximize all these things and utilize these things. Again, there's so many people out there spending thousands of dollars in all different lead sources. ZBuyer, Zillow, Trulia, Redfin, Realtor.com. Everybody's buying leads everywhere. They're paying Facebook for ads. They're putting up all these different open house events where they're spending money and everything. Yet their own friends, family, referrals, school, coworkers, past and present clients are getting nothing besides some chintzy closing gift, maybe a bottle of champagne that they wouldn't even drink themselves. That reminds me, when you're going to give champagne out at a closing, I always think about being a decent person. Would you drink a bottle of some $8.99 champagne? Save the money if you're going to buy that type of gift and buy them a movie pass. Buy them something that's worth $10 that's actually worth $10. Because buying an offensive bottle of champagne, whether you think it's cool or not, it's really not. So always keep that in mind when buying gifts. And also keep in mind when buying gifts, you're better to spend $100 by spending it $10 at a time and getting them 10 thoughtful things than to buy a $100 item that you don't even know whether they'd like it or not. So let's talk about one of the last things I want to talk about here on Circle of Influence, and that's the new age. The new age of Circle of Influence, which is your social media group, as well as if you're running any groups on social media. So on social media, you have your following. You might have 1,000 followers, you might have 500. You need to think about all of them as your outside circle of influence. They're a circle of influence as well. They might not trust you quite as much as your friends and family do, but chances are your regular circle of influence is within this following, and that it's another way to reach out to them, but it's more of a soft contact versus a direct contact. So I always tell all my agents that work for me, don't go crazy on your regular Facebook. Make sure you have a Facebook page for business. But there's nothing wrong with every once in a while throw a closing up there, or every once in a while throwing up, if you know anybody looking, feel free to reach out to me. I would definitely say when you have good photos and you have a closing and you're looking professional and everything, great thing to put up on your Instagram, your LinkedIn, your Twitter. Make sure you fill out your profile. I know a lot of people are like, I don't want people knowing information about me. I hate to break it to you, whether you put it up or somebody else puts it up, it's already on the internet. So definitely work on leveraging off that. So in the About section of you, if you don't have that you're a real estate agent, do you realize you're hurting yourself because people go and look and see what you do? So listing that you work for the company you work for, listing that you are a real estate agent, and making sure in your profile that it's looking like, hey, contact me if you need real estate. It's going to be an important thing. Last but not least, on social media now, one of the big popular things is to have groups. I run the group Real Facts on Real Estate, where this podcast goes into the Facebook group and we share even more information. So if you don't already, make sure you go over there and join the group. But groups are a great place to have a circle of influence. And the circle of influence that you use on these groups may be for other motives other than just selling real estate. It may be to get your listings more exposure by setting up a local town group. It may be to get yourself more exposure by setting up a local knowledge group about some subject that you know. Not all your groups have to be like this one here, Real Facts on Real Estate, about real estate. There's nothing wrong with, if you're a coin collector, having a great coin collector group, but every once in a while throwing out that, by the way, what I do for an actual career is real estate, because you're going to have a captive audience of thousands of people that most likely are local to you, and you can actually spread the word about your real estate business within these groups. Like always, when you work in the circle of influence, when you're working in an unrelated category, just be careful about how much influence towards real estate you put in. It's fine for you to put a little in for everybody to know that you do it. But again, don't just crush people with, you're in a coin collector group and now you're going to put every new listing up because they should all know about it. That's useless. If you're going to be putting listings up all the time, make it known. You could call your group New Listings Sell Sure. You could call your group whatever is relevant to your thing. And I'm sure you're going to find a ton of people that are going to follow it because everybody wants to find out about exclusive listings. So I hope this helps out with setting up your circle of influence. Again, make sure that you set up each and every group, categorize your contacts, make sure you set in automatic reminders to remind you every time. Every year, once those reminders run out, reset the reminders, and don't feel bad about reaching out to people. You're not as important as you think you are. Have a great week. I'll talk to you next week. We'll go over further and further into how to properly use a CRM and how to grow out your circle and how to grow your business. Thank you.